Hello everybody, welcome back. Please excuse the dressing gown, but it's Sunday, so, just relaxing, being comfortable, and looking at some price action. So, my last few videos on Bitcoin have been, I suppose, a bit bearish, but more about, being cautious and managing your risk. And they're based on signals, alright? So one of these signals that we've been waiting for and looking for, and I suppose hoping that we didn't get, would have been this, which is the Ichimoku cloud cross. It's a conversion baseline cross, and what happens is when you get one of these, it signifies the end of a trend. And I speak about this on my Patreon, and I do the tutorial on how to use this trend. This I suppose it's an indicator that tells you when the trend is beginning and when a trend has come to an end. It's usually pretty reliable, alright? So we're going to look at this and go back in history and have a look. And bear in mind, history does repeat itself, but it's also constantly evolving, alright? Bitcoin is in a different stage of its life completely, alright? It's got the institutional money now, it's got exchanges like it never had before. And I guess every other person now knows about Bitcoin and probably wants to have a little piece of it and has the opportunity to buy it a lot easier than they did in the past. So you've got to bear all that in mind. But we're looking not at the fundamentals, we're just simply looking at this one indicator now, which is it's telling us that this trend has come to an end. I'm not saying it. What it's not saying is that we're going to come crashing back down. It's saying that the uptrend has now more or less finished for the moment, and a new uptrend can easily start before this indicator tells us it. This indicator doesn't tell us where the bottom is, nor does it tell us where the top is. It tells us if there's going to be continuation of a certain trend for a reasonable period of time. I would expect it to catch a 50% of a 100% move. So, like I say, it's a very lagging indicator. It will never tell you the top nor the bottom, but it should help us understand a continuation pattern. Now again, this is just one indicator, alright? And again, in the back of your mind, you've got to think it's different. Bitcoin is different now, fundamentally is different. So let's have a look. So we've got an Ichimoku conversion baseline cross beneath the center of the Bollinger Band, alright? So this isn't a go short signal, that's not what it is. It's not saying short this asset, it's saying get out of your position if you were in it from when it crossed. So if we got in at the cross, it would have been back down here. You would have ridden this all the way up to the top, you would have been pretty happy, and you would be closing it, I suppose, around now, which you'd still be quite happy. It's 2x from the signal itself, right? Just from trading that one signal on the daily. Obviously, if we go back in time, it didn't spot the bottom, did it? No, there was a cross over here, I should say, but this doesn't tell us that it's going to go to the moon. It tells us that there's a very good chance that we're going to move. So obviously we all know, and most of us on this channel were buying down at those levels, and that's a 10x essentially. But this one kicked in around about here, and it's yielded a 200% move from the cross to the exit point. So when you get crosses like this, it's not super bearish when you're above the cloud. What it's saying is, you've had a good run. I'm telling you now, as an indicator, not me, that the fun has stopped for now, but we are above the cloud, which is good. And until we get a cross back to the up, which would be a strong buy signal, I'm just telling you to chill out or manage your risk, take profit, whatever it is. I'm trying to explain to you that the trend is likely to come to an end. So let's have a look at how this has behaved in the past. And there's one other thing I'll show you as well, which is on the weekly. It's the Moneyflow index, okay, and we think we've got a bit of a handle on this one. So we had a top here from 2017 into 18, a top here summer 2019, and a top here which has just recently kicked in. And again, we do have a trend form on this, and I would be, as far as getting back in an entry point without using the Ichimoku cloud, I would be interested in perhaps picking up some getting back into the market when we hit this trend line. And again, this doesn't tell us when the price is, it just tells us more along the lines of timing. So I can't give you we're going to go to 20,000, we're going to go to 25,000 or whatever. I can't tell you that. That's not how these indicators work. tells us about momentum and direction and continuation. So let's have a look at all the way back here. And again, remember, this is different. This is a different stage of the cycle. This is the end of a cycle, but we had a cross back here, sailed that cross all the way up. There was the top, and we came bumping all the way back down, all the way back up again, and then we got our cross at this level here. So at this point it was saying, I think it's reasonable to assume that we have actually reached our peak at this point, and that coincided with the Moneyflow index and this conversion baseline cross saying, alright, you've had a good run, let's get out. And then, you know, what happened to the price after that cross? Well, it did go down, it did, but then it went up again. But essentially what happened is it continued to go down, and then we went beneath the cloud, and we stayed beneath the cloud. And once you're beneath the cloud, you know, we get opposing crosses. They're not strong. You know, the stronger ones are when you're above the cloud, and we came all the way back down here. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen again. Like I say, a continuation of a trend doesn't mean that it's going to be, you know, the depths of despair breaking down into, you know, below 10,000 or anything. That's not what it means. It just means that we're likely to continue that trend until shown otherwise, which for the moment would be down. So let's have a look at what happened when it recovered finally. So we have to zoom in a little closer here. So we were above the cloud finally. We had a negative cross, and then we had a positive cross here, and then from this here, from basically 3,900, we rode that cross all the way up. Oh, this is so annoying. Rode it all the way up, didn't we? And we had a sell signal here, which again is a little misleading, because, you know, that did come down, but the price continued to go up because bulls were extremely strong. They were too strong, which is ended up being its undoing in the end. So we were all the way up here, all the way back down here to the price where we kind of closed here. It was a 100% move, but then we got another positive cross here to suggest, all right, the bulls are still going for it. So we play that cross from here, and where did we get the negative cross? We could have made 69, we could have come down, we avoided the cross up, and then we got the cross here. It's only a 23% move, because I suppose it was overextended, as we see on the Moneyflow index. Boink. And there's only so much you could do at that level. So like I say, you know, this isn't going to tell you the top nor the bottom. It should usually be a decent representation of a continuation of trend. So let's have a look at some of these other times it's done it. And this was a decent one here. So moving all the way up, cross back down here, below the center of the Bollinger Band, similar to how we are at the moment. Moving down, and then March crash. So that's unfair to suggest that is going to happen, right? Now, since then, you know, we've had some decent signals on this indicator. This is the first time in a while now that it's actually gone negative, and like I say, you know, I would favour it as an indicator to say, hedge your bets, let's be careful. Doesn't mean that it's not going to pop up. I could see this popping up to around 36,000. I could see that. But does it mean that it will go above there? So long as this cross remains negative, and then obviously in the next few days this Chiku span will hit the price action, which is like the final nail in the coffin for this one indicator, then yeah, I would like to assume that it was going to go down according to this indicator. So, you know, we have had a very good run, and, you know, we are getting signals now on the larger term time frames. And again, when we look back in time, we see that this is a signal for a continuation of trend. It doesn't say short it, doesn't say that at all. It just says maybe take some profit. And we've seen it rally after this cross. You know, this cross doesn't say we're going down immediately. This is a lagging indicator. It's designed to give you an idea of where the trend will continue, and it does suggest that the trend will continue down. But because it is a daily, you know, we are looking for, I suppose, a relatively long period of time for this to trickle down. And where will it trickle down to? So in that respect, the way to look at it is you have to look at previous areas where we've found supports, I suppose. There seemed to be a bit of a zone around 28,000, which is kind of where we hit recently, just above 28,000, front run from it, not quite ready for it, massive overextension, I suppose, from the Bollinger Band, got sucked back up into that. but I think it would be reasonable to assume that we do come down to around about 28,000, and if that does break, then this seems to be the most appropriate area to talk about, which is about 23,000, 24,000, around that kind of zone. Again, this is potentially where we're going to end up. Doesn't mean that we will. We are in a different stage of the bull market. We're in I suppose, the final 12 months of the strong bull market. So it doesn't mean that it will come down to these levels, but in my opinion, over time, I think these areas will get hit. And if we start to cross below this cloud, then there will be probably maybe even a deeper correction down to these levels. So I don't like making these bearish videos, because first of all, I get hate from it, and I don't get subscribers, and my channel doesn't grow. Channels don't grow in a bear market. But it's like I say, I mean, I don't make my YouTube videos to be popular. That's not what I made it for. It's basically, this is how I trade, and I trade based on risk and risk management rather than specific goals of reaching 50,000. I'm not selling till we reach there. That's not really for me. I just look at it as in, like, this is what the charts are telling me. This is what these indicators are telling me. They've been pretty accurate in the past. It's a long-term daily chart here, so I'm not expecting this to go straight away as soon as the video's uploaded, which is what I suppose a lot of people don't seem to understand when I make these videos. A few days later, we've gone up or we've gone down, and they say, "Well, what happened to your price target, mate?" No, well, I mean, I didn't say it was going to hit it on 4 o'clock on Wednesday, did I? I mean, I'm charting a trend here. I'm not charting just because I upload a video doesn't mean it's going to happen the second you watch it. That's not how it works. And again, at the same time, with TA, we can see on just in this instance, we had mixed signals all the way up here. We had all kinds of crazy stuff going up on here. We had bearish divergence all the way up. That doesn't normally happen. So there is mixed signals here, which will give you different reads depending on time frames. I mean, the shorter term time frames, I would probably expect another push back up, maybe to as much as 36,000. And if we reclaimed that area, I would negate this, because again, this isn't a sell signal. This isn't it's a kind of a sell signal. It's not a short signal. It's not strong as in saying we're going to plummet down to the massive lows. That's not what it means. It just means that this uptrend has kind of finished for the moment, and maybe all that means is that we go sideways. But I don't think what it means is that we're going to go up, and reach an all-time high yet. I wouldn't be saying that that's the case. I think if anything, we go sideways, maybe sideways and down, and trickle down. We could have a dump, we could have a crash, but at the moment, it's not saying that, and it doesn't give price targets. It just says the continuation of this move now is more likely. It doesn't say it's going to be more aggressive than it's already been, and it doesn't say that it's a short signal. It just says take some profit, guys. That's all it says. And again, I'm not no financial advisor. I'm not saying anything for you to do any of these sort of things. Just the way that this chart is wanting to be read on the back of this one indicator, and that's just one indicator. So like I say, if we're looking for areas to buy back at, we could look at price targets like the ones I've just mentioned, or we could look at this, which for me I think I'll probably hold more relevance with, depending on where this Moneyflow index ends up. I'd like to see it hit this trend line. Now, if we came straight down there today, which I doubt if we would do, this is a weekly chart, so it's unlikely to come straight down there with the way that it's moving at the moment. But over the next few weeks, we could reach these areas, and then I would probably say it's ready to pick up. There's a good chance it will pick up at that point. The cloud may not have made that conversion baseline cross at that point, but I would still be willing to say I'm gonna risk some at this level. I think it's worth a shot. So, like I say, I'm not super bearish or anything like that. I'm just not super bullish, that's all. So, sideways and down is probably my preference. Nothing too drastic, nothing too dramatic. So, let's have a look at the 3-day, because this one often gets ignored. 3-day creeping down to the towards the centre of the Bollinger Band. That's catching up with the price action as well. So, you know, 28,000 seems reasonable for a bounce, to be honest with you. 28,000 does seem reasonable. So, as you can see, I'm not mega bearish. If we were talking areas of 28,000, that's only a further 16% drop at this moment in time. As the days go on, it'll be less and less and less so, as this moving average moves up slowly but surely. And look, at the end of the day, we still have a very strong buy signal on the Ichimoku cloud on the 3-day, still having continuation of that move, with no let up. You know, that signal yielded more or less the same as the daily, and it's not telling us to get out at the moment at all. It's still continuing and actually still diverging. So mixed signals on different time frames, but I would still probably look at playing this one to at least take some profit, which is what I have done at this point now. Now, sideways and down is still good for alts. So we look at Bitcoin dominance. We'll go to the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is still basically going down, making new lows. So as far as altcoins are concerned, they may still benefit from this entire situation. If Bitcoin trickles down slowly down to 28,000, it's going to give lots of room for these alts to move. So just because I'm bearish on Bitcoin doesn't necessarily mean that I'm bearish on altcoins, not with a chart that looks like this. So it's reasonable to assume that altcoins can rally during this Bitcoin downtrend. So you can see how things start to get a little bit more complex the more you look into these sort of things. But yeah, I mean, alts is definitely strong at the moment, and they will feel a drop if Bitcoin has a significant drop. If Bitcoin dropped 16% in a day, which I don't think it would do, but if it did, then alts would probably fall at this current rate, probably about the same, and maybe a little less. So they will still suffer if Bitcoin begins to suffer. But technically, you know, I'm not out of all my positions at all, not at all, because I say, you know, I look at these sort of things on longer term time frames, like dailies, and we've seen in the past that we had one of these crosses and we rallied probably if we were to rally up to that level, that's a 10%, 12% move, you know, for Bitcoin, but still continue with the downtrend from that level. So it's not so much about price, it's about trend, and this trend would appear that it's going to continue to trend sideways and down until I find one of the two things. One would be this cross to reverse, and the second would be for the Moneyflow index on the weekly to hit this trend line, and then those are one of the two things that I would like to play, you know, go back into bull mode again. I would be bullish, looking for all-time highs again, if one of those two things, if not both of them, kicked in. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video with you there. But I hope you had a nice weekend, and join my Patreon channel. I've got 2 live streams every week for Patreon members. You can ask me loads of questions in there and stuff, and I'll get back to you. Eventually I'll get back to you, especially if you're part of the top tier. I'll get straight back to you. But you know, I hope you have a good weekend, and take it easy.